With that, we'll go ahead and kick it off. I'll introduce Doug and Melissa Haveman, good friends of ours, some really amazing folks. They run Mesquite Field Farm, which we'll hear about in just a second, down around Nixon, Texas. They've been with us for a good amount of years, and just really amazing people. Their heart for veterans and their heart for service has always inspired me. And they teach and they mentor, and they're just great folks. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Melissa. I'm going to unmute you, and Doug and Melissa, you can go ahead and take it away. I'm going to mute myself, but if you need anything, you can unmute me or you can text me. Either one.
Okay, so let's begin then. We're going to be talking about marketing, and I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to talk to you about what we call in radio spots and dots. I'm not going to talk to you about you need to be buying advertising on radio or in newspaper or print, whatnot. I'm not going to show you marketing campaigns, and I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy, because marketing, in my opinion, is one of those things that people think that they've got a grasp of, but they don't. It's the basics, and that's what we're going to talk about, more of a theory of marketing, the concepts and ideas of marketing. So that's where this conversation is going to go. And as a result of that, the first thing I want to tell you is that marketing is all about building relationships. That's it. It's selling yourself and creating relationships with people. It doesn't have to be pulling your hair out. I think somebody told me a long time ago that if you're not a natural seller, you've got to be really passionate about what you're selling. Somebody tried to get me to do radio a long time ago, and I wasn't passionate about it. I couldn't do it. But when I got to the point on the farm where I had to talk about our products and what it is that we do out here, I realized that it's actually a lot easier than I thought it was, because I'm so passionate about what we do. You have to believe that what you're doing has the ability to make people's lives better. And in my opinion, producing good, nutritious food and products for people does exactly that. So it makes it a lot easier. And that's the frame of mind you want to be in when you're looking at your marketing. So how do you build a relationship? So you're selling yourself and you're selling an ideal. Okay, not everybody wants to do what we're doing, because if they did, we wouldn't have 1% of the people feeding 100% of the population, right? So not everybody wants to be doing what we're doing, but they do want to feel like they're making the right decisions in their purchases and so on. So the easiest way to do that as a farmer is to put yourself in the shoes of your customer by asking 2 questions. How does what I provide make their life better? And this one's interesting because nobody really wants to do this one, but how can they have input into the farm? How can you get them interested and connected and involved in what you're doing on the farm? So this can be done a couple of ways. We choose to do it with social media. It's a really easy way to engage people, but it can also be really frustrating and inundating if you're trying to do Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and you're trying to keep up with all these different programs. Don't. Pick one and own it. That's where you do your updates. That's where you connect with people. You could do 2, maybe post something to Instagram and have it shared to your Facebook, but I really feel like you should pick one and use that to connect to your customers and your fans, okay? And when you do that, update it regularly and keep it simple. Don't get political. Post pictures. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Do a survey. Even if you don't do whatever it is that you're asking the survey about. We had one where we asked, hey, we have a new calf. What should we name it? I mean, the response to that, getting people involved, getting them engaged, making them feel like they're a part of what you're doing. That's what people want. They want to feel that connection. I want to see. And so I'm going to take you off to another slide here where it says get creative. You're selling that connection, right? So you're selling the connection to your customers, between you and your customers to your land, to your farm, to what you're doing. And so that's really important. That's going to get them engaged, and that's going to get them interested in what you're doing, and that's going to build that relationship. And it's when they need something, you're going to be the person that pops into their head. Another good way for marketing yourself is through social networks, not just Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, but in your community. Look for like-minded individuals in your community and talk to them. Talk to restaurant owners, chef cooperatives, food cooperatives. Here in San Antonio, we have a group called Real Food SA, and it is a cooperative of people who get together to do purchases for nutritious, healthy, whole foods within that group, and it's been around for quite some time. Connect with those people. Be a resource for them. Offer to help them out if they need something. With a chef's cooperative, we have a group of chefs in San Antonio in the area that will host farm dinners, and they will pick a farm as their benefit farm, and they will host a farm dinner, and all of the proceeds from that, the profits from that, go to that benefit farm. So connect with chefs in your area that are interested in doing the same thing that you're doing. Not the same, but that are interested in promoting the same thing that you're promoting. Host these events. Don't just be the benefit. Host them. Offer to provide products for one of their farm-to-table dinners, because then they'll put you in connection with them, get you on the the billboards and all the marketing that they're doing. So you're basically getting free marketing through them. Okay, so it's just that leads back into that get creative. You got to come up with ideas of how you can connect with people and get in this community to create more relationships. And it's on a slightly off topic, but still sort of related to marketing. I want to talk about tapping into the resources that you have on your land. Instead of always trying to create enterprises on your land that require a bunch of inputs, and Aaron can speak to this as well, look for what you already have on your land. Look for what's already there. It doesn't require a bunch of inputs, but that can generate revenue. For us, it was mesquite. We had cleared 16 acres of mesquite, and it was in piles. Well, what are we going to do with all this mesquite? Well, I don't know about anybody else, but down here in South Texas, people like to barbecue with that. So we sold mesquite as barbecue wood, and it works great. Erin has a specific example. I don't know if she wants to jump in here or not, with Yopon, which is a brush that she had a lot of excessive amount on her plate, and discovered through some research that it actually makes tea that is very high in antioxidants. And so instead of it being a thorn in her side, it became a revenue stream for her. So just sit back and take a look at what you got, do some brainstorming, and instead of putting in a bunch of money and inputs into things and bringing external resources in, look at how you can generate revenue off of what you've already got. Pricing strategies. Erin asked me to briefly touch on this. So there's three different, well, there's multiple pricing strategies out there if you want to get into economics. There's cost-plus pricing, which is what we had wanted to do originally with our place, where you calculate what your costs are and add a percentage as markup for your revenue. However, for our market, which is grass-fed beef, it appears that it utilizes a premium pricing. So what this does is it keeps the price of products artificially high to encourage a favorable perception, because it's the foodie thing or whatnot, which in reality forced us into a market-oriented pricing where we had to price roughly the same as what the market was charging, because we didn't want everybody to feel like we had an inferior product, right? So there are all these different levels of pricing you have to think about when you're setting your price for your product. But I will tell you that actually in HMI, when they discuss revenue planning, and this was kind of a light bulb moment for me, you plan for the revenue that you need. Whatever you need, your product, whatever revenue you need to maintain your farm or that you need to make, you set that, and then you work backwards. You adjust your expenses accordingly. So if you want to be making X amount of dollars and you have an exorbitant amount of expenses, you don't just up the price of your product. You adjust your expenses, and that's where you get your revenue to be possible. So there's just some different ways of looking at it to think about, decide what works best for you. I'm not sure exactly what everybody in this call is doing in terms of their revenue streams and how pricing would work for you. I mean, probably most likely the majority of us will be forced into a market-oriented pricing because we don't want to look like we have an inferior product or that we're price gouging somebody or something to that effect. So as a result, you want to go out into your community, your farmers markets, or wherever it is, whoever's selling products similar to yours, and create your pricing accordingly. I think that's it. And I'm laughing, Erin. You said 30 minutes. I think I got through that in like 15. So I just, does anybody have any questions? We're located in Nixon, Texas, which is about 60 miles southeast of San Antonio.
The question, when you're doing your pricing strategies, tell me again which pricing strategy you guys use?
We end up being forced into a market-oriented pricing strategy where we kind of match our competitors' pricing. Okay. You know, there's some flexibility up and down, but the thing is, especially with the grass-fed beef, you don't want to undercut or overcut too much, because if you undercut especially, they might think that you have an inferior product. I know that we don't, but you're trying to get, you know, the customer's impression is going to be different. They're going to be like, why is that grass-fed beef only $5 a pound? Or, you know, where they're charging 10, like what's going on here, you know? Right. So we end up falling into the market-oriented pricing strategy, which we don't want to, and, you know, maybe one day we will be able to do differently, but right now that's where we're at.
Okay, and then, so how did you guys figure out what the price was, what your market was doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So to be honest, I went to the farmer's market. I went to the farmer's market at Pearl here in San Antonio. There were a couple of other ones that I went to. And actually at the time, and realistically, we probably need to adjust our pricing because currently we charge $8 a pound for grass-fed beef. Ground beef. Okay, and the farmer's market now it's going anywhere for 9 to 10. However, I will tell you that the couple weeks ago I went to HEB, and for the Australian grass-fed beef, it was $12 a pound.
Wow.
So there's a lot of other political things going on there, you know, affecting that price that I'm not going to get into, but. You know, clearly, if we're only coming in at 8, the farmer's market's doing 8 to 10, and HEB is doing $12. That's, you know, we probably need to make an adjustment.
Yes. Do you?
Yes.
But,
in terms of, like, you want 25 to 54, male, female, or you? I mean, it's any number of people. Oh, who are we? Okay, no, we sell to customers that we've had on reserve for several years. Primarily, right now, currently, actually, my coworkers are some of our biggest customers. We do about once a month or every other month. I send out an email to my coworkers and say, hey, because we don't have a ton of, we don't produce a lot of beef. We're not producing like hundreds of animals. So every other month or so, I'll send out an email say, this is what we have available. This will be the date that I bring it in. Please have your orders to me, you know, 2 to 3 days prior, and preferably pay me beforehand, but it just depends because I got to weigh some of the packages and stuff like that, but I'll get them a price, and they can pay us the day of, or they can pay us beforehand, and then we will load the stuff up and take it to my office and deliver it to them. My goal is to someday basically have like a farmer's market there at my office. I think that would be fun to have beef and vegetables, but we're still working on that market garden. So.
So y'all are processing yourself?
No, we do not process here on the farm. We take our beef to Gonzalez Processing, and they're wonderful. They do a fantastic job.
Is that like the same kind of place you would take your deer to be processed?
I don't know if they do deer. Do they do deer? But yes, it's a processing. But I don't think they do deer. I think they just do beef, hog, and goat or lamb.
But would a deer processor be able to do the same thing?
Well, that depends. Yeah, so there's a place called Penshorns in New Braunfels that is a deer processor and a cattle processor. However, keep in mind that during deer season, you will not get a cattle in there. You will not.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I figured since y'all are only on 20 acres that you're not producing a lot. But when I heard what y'all were doing a couple of months ago, I thought, well, these are the people that I want to get in behind it. That's what they're up to.
Right. Well, we are working on a co-op where we can bring, because the reality is, like you said, 20 acres, we're not producing a ton of beef, right? But there are people out there that are doing the HMI model that it breaks my heart, that are taking their cows to auction, and I'm like, but we could be selling those as grass-fed beef. You could be generating more revenue for yourself. So we're currently working, on a co-op in our area of like-minded producers, so that we can be able to, provide larger quantities of grass-fed beef to restaurants. Sorry?
What is y'all's rainfall down there usually?
Rainfall, I can tell you that. Can you know the average rainfall on this one? I'm still doing it. Average rainfall, mixing.
Oh, hey, on that kind of that note, I just came across a really neat app. It's called Farm.
33.87 inches.
That's kind of close to what we're doing up here in Mother County. Do you mind me asking how many head y'all are producing a year?
Producing in terms of processing, or how many? Because we run anywhere from 10 to 12 cattle on 16 acres.
Okay. I remember hearing about that part.
Yeah, upwards of 13. Yeah.
Those are all my questions right now.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
I want to share with you guys a resource when you're talking about rainfall, those kinds of things. There's an app that I have found and that I've just fallen in love with. It's called Farm, F-A-R-M, Logs, L-O-G-S. And it's an app you put on your phone, and you outline, using GPS, you outline your actual property and your fence lines, and it tracks the rainfall on your particular place. And I've checked it against our actual rain gauges, and it's pretty accurate. So it's been really neat. So, and I would encourage you, I would imagine you could do it for like you, Wade, who are looking at properties that you want to lease or buy, or those kinds of things. If you probably could track the rainfall on those places.
That's a good resource.
Yes, yeah, I love it, because I'm like, oh, I check it every day. I'm like, oh, did my place give me property? Because we live about 20 minutes from our property. So I'm like, oh, and like yesterday here at the house, we only got, we really didn't get any rainfall, but my place 20 minutes from here got over a ½ inch. So it varies a lot just within 20 minutes.
Melissa, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
What breed of cattle are y'all raising?
What? I'm sorry. Oh, breed? They're mutts. They're range cattle, basically. Longhorn. We have a Brahma, Longhorn, Brangus, Black Baldy mix. They're fence jumpers. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, you say that again. That's farmlogs.com?
It's an app. So if you look up in your app thing on your phone, it's just Google Play or whatever, if you're a Droid or an iPhone, Apple, you just look up Farm Log and then download it. You can, if you get really intense, and it would actually probably be fairly beneficial for UCAN and Brent that are doing hay. They do have an option on there where you can, it tracks the rainfall and the saturation and the health and maturity and all of that kind of stuff of your forages.
Okay.
So
thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't know. That's fancy. I can't do that. But yes.
Have y'all heard about chipping your cattle?
Tipping the cattle?
Chipping with chips, or with electronic chips.
Oh, chips. I have, and I don't know how expensive that is to me. And honestly, I don't know enough about it to really speak to it. But thinking about
I can hear this.
the way we graze them, we control their grazing patterns, or what we should do, what we advise, is controlling the grazing patterns using electric fencing. The chips, to my understanding, really do a lot for them if you're on like 20 sections, 20 square miles of grazing land and you want to know where they are. But NRCS can also help you control grazing by using their water because there's a lot of science behind the distance that cattle will graze from a water source. So you can actually control their grazing by putting a water source near an area that you want them to graze down.
I see.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have any other questions about marketing or about kind of Mesquite Field Farm in general?
No, that was really helpful information, so.
Good.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Melissa.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Are y'all fertilizing down there?
Just with the cows. The cows do it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that.
The easiest way to do that. One
Thank you.
question I had for you, Melissa. So how do you determine whether you're going to sell like boxed beef, or you're going to sell cuts, or you're going to sell a half a cow, whole cow?
That depends on what if we have a half a whole lined up before we go in. And we've had people that have asked for those. That's just a really hard thing to sell unless you have people that are hardcore, have a big old freezer in their house, that sort of thing.
Right.
So if we have somebody lined up who's already given us a deposit, we absolutely require a deposit if they're going to do a half or whole, right? Because that's a big commitment.
Right.
And we want you to be committed too. Definitely require the deposit. And then when we take the animal in, we would say, okay, this portion is a half for a person, and we let them we give them. Not everybody knows about beef cuts and how that works. It's like they think, oh, I want the tenderloin, but I also want T-bones and porterhouses. Well, that's not how that works. Right? There's types to information.
You're good.
Everything okay?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. I don't.
Okay. So not everybody gets that idea of how beef cuts up and how that works, right? So obviously you can't have the whole tenderloin along with those other cuts.
Right.
So we have that conversation with them and let them figure out what they want. And then when we go into the processor, we say, okay, this half we need to have processed this way. The rest of it we're going to have done into retail cuts the way that we know our customers like. Because as you sell beef in retail cuts, you get a real feel for what the customer wants, what they're comfortable with. Because also for us, trying to explain how, because grass-fed beef cooks up very differently from corn-fed beef.
Right.
It's a whole different animal, so to speak. And so, you have to have that conversation with them, explain how it needs to be cooked. And so through all those conversations, you get an idea of what your best cuts are to choose for retail. We do a lot of ground beef, also because that's just something that a lot of people already know how to cook with, and I feel like it's a cut that allows us to get to more people, if that makes sense, right? It's more affordable. It's a lot easier to use. Everybody knows how to use it, right? So we do a lot of that. And then when they process it, they'll separate out that half that we have for the customer, and then we have our retail cuts to sell. Does that answer your question, Erin? I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. That's.
I'm sorry. I go off on a tangent when I start talking about beef and cuts and food.
Look.
Hey, Melissa.
Yes.
Is there a certain group of people or a certain demographic that will tend to eat the rest of the beef that you can target?
Well, I feel like it should. Our goal is to get everybody to eat that, right? But unfortunately, like when we talked about in pricing, it's very market oriented because for some reason grass-fed beef still tends to be thought of as something more for people with extra additional disposable income, right? Where they can afford to spend extra money on a more expensive cut of meat. I think that's sad. I think everybody should be able to afford this, right? Why should the healthy option be unaffordable for everybody? But that is what it is. But it does tend to be people who have more disposable income, who is a little more affluent.
That's what I was thinking.
But that's
So, and I know I talked with, there's a gal who runs, her name's Kimberly Ratcliffe, who runs the 100 Ranchers, and part of their marketing strategy is that she goes around to businesses that either she knows the people really well, but that have a lot of people that kind of meet her kind of targeted selling demographic, and she has like a little cooking display thing, and she actually cooks their beef and then has samples, and they sell beef from there too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, really? And she made it, and that's at their drop points too. So they just have everybody come there and they get to sample, and because to your point exactly, there's a lot of people who don't know how to use grass-fed beef correctly.
Right.
And you, Miss Chefs, who cook amazing food, are really good at that kind of stuff. So.
Well, like it's about putting yourself in the customer's shoes, right? So the other thing that we're about to start producing is pastured poultry, and so for me, and what I tell people, because I was that customer, right? I was that person that was out there that wasn't making a lot of money but wanted to feed my family really good food, right? So I got to the point where I didn't buy chicken breast. I bought the whole fryer and learned how to cut it up myself.
Right.
So what I want to do is have a sort of teaching class at my office and say, okay, here's the whole chicken, and it's going to take us approximately 30 seconds to break this bad boy down. Watch. And teach people how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you get creative, and also in terms of, like, another example would be our, with the grass-fed beef, we got some in the last batch, beef cutlets, which are pre-tenderized, and they're part of the sirloin, and they're supposed to be used for chicken fried steak.
Okay.
Well, that's great, but not everybody's trying to eat chicken fried steak all the time. So what I did is what I told my customers, like, you know what, here's what I do with it. I slice it on an angle and use it in stir fries.
Oh.
So now it's a completely different option for them, and it brings in people who just traditionally say, I don't want to eat chicken fried steak. I can't do chicken fried steak. Oh, but I can use it for this. Heck yeah, I sold those out faster than anything else.
Yeah. That's a great idea. So
it's, yes.
I was reading just a couple of days ago about a fellow down that is running chickens as well as his grass-fed beef. You know of a guy like that?
It's possible. It may have been about my husband. Who knows? I saw an article about somebody in Nixon doing beef and poultry, because poultry's been on our list for a while. Yeah, we've been working on it. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'll figure it out. Next time I look at it, I'll write the guy's name down.
Sure.
All right. Thanks again.
do y'all have anything else? So, and kind of to the point that I talked about when we were talking about last week at the operation, no, it wasn't operations, it was the marketing webinar we were talking about earlier in the week, where that you don't have to be great at everything. So if marketing's not your thing, it's not my thing. I love you guys, but I'm not a huge people person, weirdly. I know that's kind of strange, but I'm not real comfortable calling people I don't know or going into stores and or around like farmers markets and telling people about our product. I'm just not real comfortable with that. But I love the financial side and I love the operations side of things. So that's what I'm good at. That's what I love. That's what I focus on. But my husband, John, is huge on relationship building. He's never met a stranger. He loves talking to people and telling people our story. So that's kind of how we balance that out. And Melissa and Doug, I see that for you guys too. I know you both love the operations side, but you're really passionate about the marketing and the, kind of selling point. And Doug, you love the operations and the actual, hands-on stuff. So I think you guys make a great team. So I just wanted to point out to you guys too, if marketing is like stressing you out and you're like, I don't really like people and I don't want to talk to them, so how do I do marketing?
I don't either, so.
I know. That's the best part about you. I think that you don't, and me too. And I don't like strangers, but you're only a stranger to me for about 5 minutes typically. So, so I think that's something just kind of to keep in the back of your mind. And when you're thinking about things like who is going to do your marketing, who's going to be in charge of doing your marketing, and if it's not somebody that's already a partner with you in your business, then that's something you probably want to look at hiring out, because the marketing piece you just can't miss. It cannot be a miss for you, because this is how you make money. Operations is how we make expenses mostly. Financing is a lot how we manage those expenses, and our hopefully our income. But marketing is really how you get those customers and you make the money. So, because if you don't have customers, and I think VJ's point last week is that if people don't know you have a product to sell, they can't buy it from you. So just make sure you know who is going to, in your business, when you're thinking about that, who's going to be in charge of your marketing. And if you don't like to do it, and you don't have a partner who can do it, who likes to do it, then you might want to go ahead and put that in as a line item in your budget to hire that out. Because I can tell you from experience, if you don't like doing it, you won't. So I'm a perfect case in point on that, because I don't like to do it, so I don't do it. So John sometimes doesn't have time for that, so we're probably going to hire that out.
Oh, can I interject for just a
second? Absolutely, go for it.
So just if I give you one little piece of something that you could do to help get you kind of in that direction, even if you're not going to do it yourself. You have a Facebook page, start posting pictures.
Yes.
Because people love a picture of a baby calf or
yeah.
a calf.
They do.
They go crazy over those. Just little pictures about what's going on your farm.
Yes.
So that people see it pop up in their feed, they see you there, it's name recognition. It keeps coming up. And so when they're like, I need something, occasionally post that, hey, we're about to do poultry, or we're about to do, so that they know that product's coming. And then when you do have product, get it out there, put it in your feed, get it going. Don't do 20 different social networks, but just do one, but do it really well, and keep posting those pictures and getting people engaged in what you're doing. So, sorry.
No, that's great. No, I love that you're adding that, and to that point, there are things, and I can get Mackenzie to speak to this, but there are things, little programs that when you post like to Facebook, if you have Twitter and Instagram, it'll send it out to all of those. So you can post in the one location that you're really comfortable with. Like I don't know how to tweet. I have no idea. And Instagram, I have no idea. But I can create an account, and I'm totally comfortable with Facebook. I can create an account and post something in Facebook that will tweet it and send it to Instagram. So that's kind of an easy way to do that. But to Melissa's point, everybody loves dating animals. And things going on your farm. People like to be bought into what you're doing and your idea. So if they can feel like they're a part of your farm, like, hey, I moved the cows today, take pictures. They love that.
And maybe not even always just the great stuff, right?
Right.
Like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Any ideas? So you get them engaged, right? They're feeling like, hey, I'm a part of this process. I can help them out. I've got an idea. That sort of thing too. Right.
So yeah, because we're all not perfect, and there's all different things you can do to get people engaged. But I love the questions. I need to get better about that. I post a lot of pictures and different articles and stuff, but I'm not really good about the questions. So I love that piece of advice of asking people about things and getting their ideas on stuff. Another point I was going to make is marketing materials. So I wouldn't spend a ton of money on it, but I think it's something that we're going to consider, and you might want to consider as well. Once you get your brand and you've got these products, I know farmers and ranchers who make more money on selling T-shirts and hats and coffee cups than they ever do on their actual beef or their actual chickens or eggs. They come up with a cute little slogan to put on with their brand, and they sell hundreds of T-shirts or hats and those kinds of things. So that's just another thing to consider when you're looking at your operation.
May I ask another?
Sure, absolutely.
Hey, Melissa, is Central Market Whole Foods
certified facility, if that's what you're referring to.
Okay. But you don't advertise it with the certification or anything like that?
No, we are planning on working towards the animal welfare approved. I do believe we are farmer veteran or homegrown by heroes, but we don't put any kind of certification on our labels, right? So when we're selling our beef, we really try. It's not about a label, right? Because we feel like sometimes those labels get co-opted by big business and taken over, and it means something. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. So when we're talking to people about our beef, we always encourage them to come see our operation. The most important thing that they can do as a customer is know where their food is coming from. And you are welcome to come out here and see what we do any day of the week. We talk about organic certification and what that sort of means. I mean, even in an organic certification, you can use chemicals, right? So for us, our goal is to not even use chemicals. So when we're talking about it, we say we're beyond organic, because I've read those organic certification requirements, and we're beyond that. That's not even an option for us, right? Okay. So that's how we have the conversation with our customers. Okay.
And even there was so much conflict on what was considered USDA grass-fed that the Agriculture Marketing Service, who was certifying grass-fed, doesn't anymore. They don't do that. They stepped out of that realm because of that, because there was so much differentiation between what everybody thought grass-fed meant. So to my knowledge, the only organization that certifies grass-fed now is the American Grass-Fed Association. So they post their standards online, and you can look at their standards. They have some pretty rigorous standards. But I think one that people miss a lot of is the BQA, that's Beef Quality Assurance Program. That's done, I think, through our Texas Beef Council, and you can do a lot of that online. But you can also see their some of their demonstrations at some of these big things like this Beef Cattle Conference coming up. And it's all about low stress handling and they do a lot of minimalization of vaccinations. It's more about keeping your cattle healthy overall versus trying to fix problems all the time. So being BQA certified is a good marketing thing, I think, and it's just good. It's good habits, I think, for us as cattlemen, or cattlewomen, I guess, to have. So. Lots of other things you can put on your product. One thing I did learn about labeling your product at a conference, and some of this might have shifted, and we could talk to some folks about labeling, but the last I heard at the conference I was at in November is that unless you have approval to use something like USDA organic, you cannot put that label on your product. What you can do is either on your website or on a package material not attached to the product, so a little pamphlet or a little piece of paper. You can talk about how you raise your product. You can't use the certification terms. You couldn't say USDA organic, but to Melissa's point, you can put beyond organic and what that means, and you can talk about that in a little piece of paper that goes with your product. Does that kind of make sense? It can't be attached to it, but it can go with it to your customer. Does that make any sense? Did I lose you guys? Are you still there? Yeah. Okay. I'm like, no, they got all very quiet.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. All right, you guys, any other questions? Well, you guys are great. Melissa, Doug, as always, you guys are amazing, and I really appreciate what you do for us and giving up your time to talk us through that. I think you did a great job, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and then our contact data is there on the screen, or I'm sure if they have any questions or whatnot, they can get a hold of us, and